Hunter sat on Sunset's couch, head laid back and eyes lowered to focus on the TV. He heard Sunset head out from the hallway, and she soon appeared over him waggling his phone. "My extended warranty again?" Hunter asked. "Nope, message from Sonata." She dropped the phone into his hand as he raised his palm. "Aw, must be some more tour photos." He ran his thumb up the screen to observe a message consisting of a smiley face and a heart with several pictures attached. He panned through them, seeing various photos of the girls posing before landmarks along their tour route. One picture was taken on stage and displayed a massive audience. Holy shit, they're really killing it now that they have their true voices back. For real. Sunset braced her hands on the back of the couch and looked over his shoulder. Good for them. Hunter flipped down to the last photo, a selfie stick-oriented shot of Sonata and Arya lounging by the pool in what could only be considered the legal minimum for bikinis. Hunter's eyes traveled up to Sunset, who was looking down at him with an expectant smirk. I'll just archive these, for posterity," he noted with a smile. "Uh-huh," Sunset toned. "Don't fret my marble-mopped marvel," he reached up and took her cheek. "There aren't enough half-naked pop stars in the world to keep me from walking your red carpet." Sunset snorted and shook her head. Wow, that was almost romantic. She leaned down and kissed him. Her own phone began to ring in her back pocket. She wandered away from Hunter to answer the call. "Hey Applejack, what's up?" She listened for a few minutes and smiled. "That's neat, nice to hear that the girls are taking on something so big. You looking for help?" Again, she listened. "Oh, okay," she laughed. "Definitely don't want to step on any toes, but I'd be happy to bring by some lunch for you all." She nodded to herself. "Okay, I'll be there around 1. Later." As Sunset hung up, she noticed Hunter peering back at her. "What's the word on the farm?" he asked. "Apple Bloom, Sweetie Belle, and Scootaloo took on a charity renovation job on some old house," Sunset detailed. "Applejack is going to work with them on the project." "Cool," Hunter commended. "Giving back to the community and all that good stuff. Want to come along?" "Actually, I'm going to head downtown tomorrow," Hunter informed. "Okay, want to meet up for dinner?" Sunset asked in response. "It's a date." Hunter hefted himself from the couch. "Tell the little wrecking crew I said hi." "Will do." Sunset kissed him. "Good night, Hunter." "Night, Sonny." He ran his thumb across her cheek before making his way to the door. Sunset locked the door behind him, shutting off the TV and lights before heading for her bedroom. Applejack's truck pulled up to a rundown, colonial home on the outskirts of a commercial area. As she stepped out, her sister and her friends piled out of the truck and excitedly ran up the front walkway. Applejack looked back and forth down the road. A boarded-up home in much worse shape sat 2 lots down to the right, and the closest neighbor to the left was a shipping warehouse for an online company at the far end of the street. "Not exactly homely," she muttered to herself. "Applejack." Apple Bloom called from the front door. "Come on already." "All right, keep your suspenders on." Applejack joined them on the dilapidated front porch, the ceiling of which barely held up by rotting decorative posts. This place is a little more worse for wear than you said." "Maybe," Scootaloo admitted. "But we can handle it, we're just making it livable, not turning it into a mansion." "Yeah," Sweetie Belle continued. "Once it's fixed up, it's supposed to be used for temporary housing and feeding for the homeless. Guess that's why it's way out here." Applejack assessed. "All right, let's take a look at what we're dealing with." She grabbed the knob and forced the door open. Dust kicked up from the floor at the sudden motion of the heavy wooden door. "Mask up girls, I need to make sure there's no mold or asbestos anywhere before we can work safely. Donning dust masks, they entered into the foyer and observed the immediate area. Now, y'all just wait here for a bit. Okay, Apple Bloom promised as her sister began her initial inspection. Look at all this cool, old furniture. Scudala walked over to a two-cushioned seat and kicked it, dust-plumed, and she waved her hand before her face. Man, if Rarity were here she'd pass out. Sweetie Belle giggled as she looked up at a painting of some flowers. Just needs some TLC. Apple Bloom said surely. This place has great bones, these old houses are a lot more sturdy than the ones they make today. She knocked on the wall causing paint chips to fall. I don't see all the dust and wear, I see what it'll be when we get done. After about 40 minutes, Applejack returned and took her mask off. All right, we're clear on anything dangerous. She set her hips to her fists and looked around as the girls took off their masks. Well, first things first, we need to start clearing out all the trash and anything that isn't usable. The dumpster I rented should be being dropped off any time now. Let's grab our gloves and get hauling. The three girls shared a high five as they rallied themselves for the task ahead of them. At 1 o'clock, Sunset pulled up to the house and saw Applejack and Scudala throwing an old couch into the dumpster. As they noticed her, Scudala ran inside to tell the others as Applejack removed her gloves and headed over. One lunch, right on time. Sunset smiled, hefting up 3 large pizza boxes. Appreciated, Sunset. Applejack thanked as she took the boxes. How's it going in there? Sunset asked as she retrieved a pair of 2 liters and a bag of plastic cups from the passenger seat. So far so good. Applejack began as they started for the house. It'll be a job for sure, but nothing that can't be managed with what we have. Good, Sunset used her butt to hold open the door as they entered. Hunter says hi by the way. Is that all? Applejack asked with a laugh. For a change, yeah. Sunset chuckled. Over here. Apple Bloom called from the dining room. We cleaned off the table. Okay, Sunset headed into the overly decorated formal dining room, she set the bottles down and passed out cups. Having fun so far? Yeah, Sweetie Belle nodded. I got to smash an old chair with a hammer. Sunset laughed as she sat. That does sound kind of fun. After eating, Sunset decided to do a quick walk of the house to see what it was like. All in all, it seemed normal enough aside from the lavish tastes of the last owner, a living room, dining room, kitchen, study, and bathroom on the first floor and a master bathroom, second and third bedrooms and second bathroom on the second floor. She found an old crib in the master bedroom with blanket and toys still inside. The handcrafted piece was elegant and sat atop 2 half-moon rockers. Wow, I'd feel spoiled to have this for a crib. She gently rocked it back and forth, it swayed as she moved on to observe the armoire but came to a sudden and rigid stop once her back was turned. Moving to the still-made bed, she reached down and felt the sheets. Geez, silk sheets. She turned her head towards the door leading into the attached master bathroom, the outline of a second hand forming beneath the sheets and sliding towards Sunset's. A scream from downstairs caused her to jolt upright, narrowly avoiding whatever was looking to grasp her. That was Sweetie Belle. She ran out of the room and back down the stairs finding Apple Bloom and Scudala looking down at their doubled-over friend. What happened? Applejack asked as she hurried in from outside. Someone get hurt? I don't know, Apple Bloom took Sweetie Belle's shoulder. Why'd you scream like that? Basement, Sweetie Belle huffed. I saw someone. A person? Sunset asked. Can't be, Applejack noted. I checked the basement before we got started, weren't no one down there. You sure it wasn't a coat rack or something? Scudala asked. I know what I saw. Sweetie Belle insisted sharply. Okay, okay. Sunset raised her hands to stop any further argument. This place is old and abandoned, there may be a squatter or someone hiding out down there. Let's just call the police and have them sweep the property to be safe. Okay, I'll call. Applejack pulled her phone out. Everyone out of the house and back to the truck. She put in the call as everyone hurried outside. Within 10 minutes a squad car pulled up and 2 officers spoke with them. Heading inside they did an interior check of the premises followed by an exterior sweep of the whole site. Well, we didn't find any evidence of forced entry or anyone inside the building. The first officer informed. That doesn't mean there couldn't have been someone here at some point. You should be careful regardless, the second officer continued. We've had several incidents in this area with vagrants, addicts, and vandals. But, if something does happen, don't wait to call again. All right, thank you, officer. Applejack nodded as the men headed back to their car. Sorry, maybe I did just see something weird that looked like a person in the dark. Sweetie Belle apologized. Don't be sorry, Applejack patted her head. Always better to be safe than sorry. I was going to meet Hunter tonight, Sunset began. But I can stay if you want me to. No, we'll be okay. Sweetie Belle assured. Let's just get back to work. Okay. Scootaloo nodded. We'll just stick together. Right, Apple Bloom concurred. You two work as a pair and I'll stay with my sis. The 3 of them began heading back in. Applejack shrugged and looked to Sunset. Well, guess that's decided. Thanks for bringing lunch, I'll make sure we're out of here before dark. Okay. Sunset nodded. Be careful. Will do. Applejack promised as she headed after the girls. For the rest of the day there were no further incidents, although Sweetie Belle remained on edge. The entire thing was mostly forgotten by the time they went home for the day, and after a night's sleep the girls were feeling recharged. Applejack had them back at the house a little after first light and they were back at things full force. About an hour later, Applejack noticed a pair of cars pull up and her friends hopping out. She headed out onto the porch and waved as they joined her. Morning. Sunset greeted. What are y'all doing here? Applejack asked. Sunset told us what happened, so we thought, just to be safe, that we should come help out for the day. Rarity explained. Safety in numbers. Twilight stated. Hey Rarity. Sweetie Belle saw her as she passed by the doorway and hurried out. Hello, Sweetie Belle. Rarity went to her. You guys come to help? Sweetie Belle asked. Sure did. Rainbow Dash nodded. Awesome. Scootaloo emerged as well. It'll be a house cleaning party. Pinkie Pie cheered, grabbing Fluttershy by the shoulder and pulling her in. Yay. Fluttershy toned. Well, not going to turn down the assist. Applejack waved them in. Come in, I'll show you where we're at. Following her inside, Applejack got everyone on task and headed down into the basement to continue seeing what was inside the various boxes and trunks that Sweetie Belle had started on the day before. Rainbow Dash, Rarity, and Apple Bloom were upstairs and working on bringing down anything needing to be thrown away. As the items began leaving the floor, a distorted black shape that clung to the ceiling began watching them intently. While the 3 of them were in the hallway, a sudden slam came from the master bedroom, the girls halting and looking towards the door. Something fall over? Rainbow Dash asked. Sounded awful big for something that just fell. Apple Bloom said nervously, yesterday's events already beginning to come to mind. Darlings please, Rarity scoffed. Just residual nerves from what happened yesterday. She headed over towards the master bedroom door and peeked inside, her confident face grew confused as she looked inside. What? Rainbow Dash called over. Nothing is out of place. Rarity shrugged. Must have been something in the attic, maybe a raccoon. She headed back towards them. Have to have Fluttershy have a look, she's good with. She stopped and staggered as a hanging sconce leapt from the wall and smacked her in the side of the head. Rarity. Rainbow Dash sped over to her and held her upright. What was that? Rarity asked in a daze. You saw that, right, Rainbow Dash? Apple Bloom asked with increasing concern in her voice. Before they could try and figure anything else out, a mad shriek caused them to grab their ears, and everyone on the first floor quickly stopped at the noise. Down in the basement, Applejack was unaware of what was happening above, but something else seemed to be. A dull, blue glow began to form within the darkness behind her and made its way closer. Just seems to be old clothes and a bunch of random stuff. She mumbled through the small flashlight in her mouth. Guess we can donate most of it. She waved her hand before her face as dust plumed. After a wash or two. Her thoughts came to an abrupt halt at the sound of a listless groan. She quickly turned and found the amorphous blue shape just feet away. It seemed to lurch at her, as if reaching out, and she jumped back into the boxes with the type of scream that was rare for her. The groan grew louder as it approached further. Applejack bashed the boxes away and scrambled to her feet. As she ran up the stairs and into the kitchen, she saw the other girls in a panic as Rainbow Dash was on her knees with her arm bleeding and the back of her sister's shirt shredded. As she joined them and tried to assess, the entire first floor shook as a thunderous cry unlike anything they had heard before rattled them to their bones. Anything loose began to jut in various directions, and the ceiling above them seemed to heave as if breathing. Screaming in chorus, they all fled the house and collapsed onto the lawn, staring at the house, which fell suddenly silent now that they were no longer inside. Applejack. Apple Bloom crawled over to her sister and into her arms, crying in fear. What happened to you? Applejack asked, finding red marks across her back where she could see into her torn shirt. Something attacked us. Rainbow Dash exclaimed. It was black and it kept swiping at us. She gave into her labored breathing as Fluttershy helped her sit up. What in the world was that scream? Fluttershy looked to her friends. And what was making the whole house move? Twilight asked further, her scientific mind rattled at the events. Sunset. Pinkie Pie looked to her with frightened eyes. I think you may want to call Hunter. Yeah, Sunset looked up at the house. I think that's a good idea. She quickly called Hunter, explaining what happened as calmly as she could manage. Without hesitation he told her to get them to her place and he would meet them there. Abandoning whatever they left inside, the shaken girls made a quiet and unnerved drive to Sunset's, each of them trying to make sense of what had just happened. Once at Sunset's they felt safer and finally started to come down from the adrenaline high. Not long after, Hunter arrived and found them in their frazzled state. Everyone okay? He quickly inquired. Fluttershy got everyone patched up who needed it. Sunset informed. Other than that, we're okay. Good. He let out a relieved breath. So, based on what you told me, it sounds like you've stumbled across a haunting. A haunting? Twilight asked. Like ghosts. Now ghosts are real too. Hunter made a small laugh. Yeah, they are. Sorry to keep shattering your world perception. I am getting used to it. Twilight sighed, rubbing her forehead. Hunter hummed in thought. I hate ghosts. He finally muttered. A lot. Wow, so there are things you're afraid of? Pink asked. Hunter quickly glanced over at her. What? Oh, no. I don't hate them out of fear. He clarified, pulling out his sidearm. I hate them because I can't shoot them. Guns can't always be the answer. Sunset noted. Hunter gasped and looked at his gun longingly. Ignore her, she doesn't know what she's talking about. So, What are we supposed to do then? Sweetie Belle asked. We can't go back in there. Can you beat a ghost, Hunter? Scootaloo looked to him with hopeful eyes. I mean, that's what you do, right? About that, it's not exactly my area of expertise, he admitted. Only one prior case, not my thing, but the agency didn't exactly know what was going on at the time. So what happened? Rainbow Dash asked. Hunter let out a long breath through his lips as he thought. It's not really a story I think you ladies should hear. Not a pretty case. Is it sad? Pinky asked. Sad, violent, he sighed. Well, it might give you some insight for what we're dealing with now. Go on. Sunset gave him a nod. Hunter folded his arms and leaned back in his seat. Cutting out all the mystery solving I had to do, the case started with a suicide. Oh dear. Rarity whispered. Yeah. Hunter said unenthusiastically. Allendale, 16-year-old male, victim of a classic high school scenario. Struggled with his weight all his life, which led to depression, bullying and ostracizing made it worse. Kid took a butcher knife and tried to literally cut the fat off his body. He saw the girls wince at the detail. Parents found him, police interviews with them are where I got all the details about his life. Report said when they found him, he was slumped down on the floor, blood and chunks of himself all around with a frozen look on his face. They reported they had trouble getting over. Official cause of death was exsanguination. That's the most awful thing I've ever heard. Applejack shook her head. I came in after the second death. Hunter continued. 2 school kids were found in 2 different locations, bodies were sliced to ribbons. I infiltrated the school and did my job. The connection between the 2 were documented physical incidents with Allendale. I originally suspected the parents, plenty of motive, until I saw the 3rd death. I connected a 3rd possible target to the case and tailed him for a day or 2. He was walking home alone and he just flew forward like someone drop-kicked him. Something started slashing at him viciously. I couldn't even intervene because there wasn't anything visible to engage. Needless to say, after that incident, I realized I was out of my depth. So how did you stop it? Sunset asked. With help, Hunter admitted. I let the agency know what was happening and they sent in Rain. Another agent, I take it? Twilight inquired. Yeah, he's a medium and our agency's paranormal specialist. Hunter detailed. He's been all over the globe, even more so than I have. Studied religion, folklore, all kinds of spiritual customs and ceremonies and even demonology. He sighed. Anyway, it was my first time meeting him and suffice to say we didn't share the same sentiments on the subject of the paranormal. Hunter noted with a small laugh. But we knew what needed to be done and that's enough to complete the mission. He said we needed to bind the spirit since it was nomadic and bent on revenge, preferably into some complex object. Complex object? Fluttershy repeated. Rain said that when spirits are bound, they can take control of the object and still become a problem. Human-shaped vessels like dolls are the most common because it recognizes the form. Apparently, when you use a complex object that has an unnatural shape, they get lost in it or something, can't exert as much control because they're confused. He shrugged. Anyway, I unfortunately had to set up a scenario involving another possible target I pegged. Using her as bait was the only way to draw it out. Rain set the place up with blessed salt and we waited for something we couldn't see to attack. I was acting second to Rain, so I just followed his orders. When the thing finally showed up, the girl got cut up, so did I for that matter, but it bought enough time for him to perform a binding ritual. Hunter slowly nodded. The object was sealed in a portable safe and shipped off to a containment facility. Wow, Rainbow Dash said in rare awe. That is beyond crazy, like, that's the kind of stuff they make movies about. So, The afterlife is real. Twilight set her hand to her chin in thought. That changes so much about what we know about the natural world. Well, that part hasn't been confirmed just yet. Hunter clarified. I don't really believe in souls. You just got done telling us a real ghost story and you don't believe in souls. Applejack asked in disbelief. I know ghosts are real, but I don't think they're what humans call souls. Hunter continued. That's just wishful thinking brought on by religious belief throughout the ages. Everything that we are as an individual is basically electrical impulses contained in the brain that we interpret as memory, just like a computer. At the time of a violent, traumatic, or emotional death, your brain is firing on all cylinders as everything from fight or flight to pain recognition to panic over the fact that you know you're dying is going on all at once. My theory is that when the brain finally dies, all that electrical flow that was going on doesn't fully go away. It hangs in the atmosphere, riding the natural background ionization in the air. A free-floating, frazzled version of a human consciousness that acts on basic impulse, recent memory, and of course the cause of their death. It explains all the typical behavior of a ghost, and it makes sense that they could semi-manifest by using ionization to clump together ambient particles in the air to recreate their shape from memory. He quickly turned his head to Sunset. And you thought I was just a dumb hunk? He smiled. You hear how many multi-syllable words I just used? Twilight must be a waterfall right now. And right back to normal. Sunset shook her head. Actually, that is a very interesting theory. Twilight confessed, ignoring his crude remark. I just naturally dismissed the spiritual. I never thought of looking at it like that. Well, that's all well and good. Applejack chimed in. But what do we do about this ghost? If something like this could be that dangerous, I'm not letting the girls anywhere near that place. Why don't you just call that Rain guy? Pinky asked simply. Pinky, he's an agent like Hunter. Rarity reminded. It isn't like he's on speed dial. Actually, that isn't a bad idea. Hunter admitted. Do you think he'd help? Fluttershy asked. I mean, you do all of this off the record as you put it? We may argue philosophy, but Rain is like me in a lot of ways. He does this job for his own reasons, not just orders or a government paycheck. He's had one foot in the spiritual world since he was a kid, and he sees it as a part of the natural order that needs to be dealt with as much as the physical world. Hunter stood. I'll see if I can get in touch with him through Lily. In the meantime, the renovation is on hold. No arguments here. Apple Bloom noted. Call me as soon as you hear something. Sunset requested as he headed out the door. Well, looks like another waiting game. Rainbow Dash leaned back. Man, can't even flip a house without something nuts happening. We do seem to be magnets for this sort of thing. Rarity added with a laugh of consideration. Better us than some unsuspecting family. Fluttershy considered. Well, nothing more to do now. Sunset sighed. We should just get some sleep. If any of you want to crash here you can. She offered. I'll take Apple Bloom and Scootaloo home with me, more room at our house. Applejack noted. Mind if I tag along, AJ? Rainbow Dash asked. Not at all, Applejack nodded. I'm sure Scootaloo won't mind. Heck no. Scootaloo assured with a comforted smile. I'll call our parents and tell them I'll be keeping Sweetie Belle with me tonight. Rarity added. No sense in them getting involved in this. As Applejack, Rarity, Rainbow Dash, and the girls headed home, Pinkie Pie looked around at the remainder of their group. Guess that means we're staying. Pinkie put an arm around Twilight and Fluttershy, pulling them in with a wide grin. Sunset laughed. All right then, sleepover it is. She pointed a finger at Pinkie. No ghost stories though. She warned, heading to the kitchen to get snacks. The next day was one of idling as Sunset waited to hear from Hunter while the others went about their lives as normal. At nearly 5 in the afternoon, Sunset's phone rang, and she quickly answered upon seeing Hunter's name. "Hey," was starting to wonder if everything was all right. Sunset said as she left the couch and went into her bedroom. "Really?" she said with relief in her voice. "That's great, when is he arriving?" She went to her desk and grabbed a pen, jotting down information on a piece of scrap paper. "Okay, I'll let the others know." "Okay, bye." As she ended the call, she quickly opened her contacts to begin calling her friends. The following afternoon, Hunter took the hour-and-a-half-long drive to the airport and met with Rain. After a brief reunion, Hunter drove him back to Sunset's place, the two agents catching up along the way. Parking before Sunset's home, Hunter glanced over at Rain while he undid his seat belt. "These girls are pretty bright and cheery," he began with a smile. "If you start to feel yourself catching fire, let me know." The tepid-faced Rain shook his head with a single laugh. "I shall," Rain assured in his typical smooth but sullen tone. Hunter led him to the door and knocked, quickly answered by Sunset, who greeted them with a smile. "Hi, I'm Sunset." "Thank you so much for coming, Rain." Rain offered her a quiet smile in return and nodded. "Of course. Please, come in." Sunset stood aside and let them in, taking them into the heart of the living room where the others awaited. "These are my friends, Pinkie Pie, Twilight, Applejack, Rarity, Rainbow Dash, and Fluttershy." The girls gave various waves as they observed their new ally. Rain was obviously older than Hunter, at least by 8 years. His face was calm with amber eyes and incredibly straight hair of silver. His long, green coat looked oversized for him and he wore matching gloves and shoes. "Ladies, it is nice to meet you all." Rain tipped his head. "Likewise, darling." Rarity responded in kind. "Hunter told us how you guys met." Pinkie stood and hurried over to him. "He also told us about your super cool ghost talking powers." Rain took a step back and smiled. "My, Hunter wasn't wrong, your energies are also vibrant." "Our energies?" Rainbow Dash repeated in confusion. "Every person has what I refer to as energy," Rain explained. "There are different names for it all over the globe: aura, ki, mana, light. Every culture in the world has in some way, shape, or form understood this energy. I can sense it, in a way, and yours is especially warm, Pinkie Pie." "Yeah," Hunter gently took Pinkie's shoulders and pulled her back a bit. "Rain is sensitive to it, so give him some personal space." "Reading that energy tells me a great deal," Rain continued. "The dead also give off an energy, although it is much different from that of the living." "That's really incredible," Fluttershy noted. "It is a double-edged sword," Rain confessed. "Well, would you like anything to drink?" Sunset asked. "I'm sure it was a long flight." "I am fine, thank you." Rain paused as he looked at Sunset, humming to himself quietly. "My superiors don't know I'm taking this little detour. It would be best if you show me this house." "Right," Hunter nodded. "Let's get moving." Rain followed Hunter out as the girls grabbed their things and started loading into vehicles. "Sunset's energy is unlike anything I have ever felt." He glanced over at Hunter, who only offered him a gentle smirk. "I'm going to need you to not peep into my girlfriend's keyhole." Rain looked into Hunter's eyes. "It isn't human energy," he continued. "I see why she is so special. No normal girl could possibly put a leash on you." He smiled. "And, if I agree with your assessment?" Hunter asked in return. Rain let out a mild laugh and nodded. "I know just as much as you that not all entities that are not of this world are our enemies. I'll keep my assessments to myself." "Appreciated." Hunter thanked as they headed back to his car. "So, Do you have any information on the house's history? Rain asked as he got back into the passenger seat. In the works, Hunter said as he began following at the tail end of the procession. House is old and looks like it's been left untouched for at least 20 to 30 years. It's plopped in the middle of a commercially zoned area, so either there is a living relative that's sitting on the deed refusing to sell, or whatever is in that house has been chasing people away. Rain concluded. Yeah, Hunter nodded. Given where we're at now, I'm guessing the latter. Arriving at the house once more, the girls assembled on the front lawn as Hunter and Rain joined them. Allow me to enter the house alone. Rain began. Your strong energies will create a lot of interference for me. All right, Sunset agreed. Be careful, whatever is in there already came after us once. Rain proceeded inside and immediately took a long breath as a chill ran through his body. He ran his eyes across the immediate area and began walking about the first floor. He next headed for the stairs to the second level. As he began to ascend, an already frail section of the banister suddenly jerked away from his hand and ripped from the stairwell. He moved against the wall, watching the wood fall to the first floor with a crack that fiercely echoed. The same shrill, incomprehensible wail that had sent the girls running sounded all around Rain. He held his head and took long breaths as it subsided. You know that I can sense you, but this energy, Rain muttered to himself before continuing upstairs. He steadily traversed the rooms, ultimately coming to the master bedroom. He stepped inside, walking right past a crooked, shadowed shape behind the door. It glared at him through misshapen eyes, paying close attention to every move he made. I know you're there, Rain stated clearly. I can practically smell the bloodlust coming off of you. The shadow lunged at him. Rain turned and found only an empty doorway in front of him. So chaotic. He noted. The built-in mirror of the antique makeup desk at his side exploded and shards of glass ran across him. He raised his arms but not in time to keep a piece from slicing his cheek. A mad scream, more understandable than the previous, reverberated around him and he saw the sheet on the bed begin to rise. An unmistakable human shape was beneath it and Rain quickly fled the room and rounded out into the hall. Running his gloved finger through the blood on his cheek, he shook his head and hurried back down to the main level. Rain. Hunter charged in from the front door. What the hell was that? Not a warning shot, I can assure you of that. Rain looked back up the stairwell. Are you okay? Hunter asked. Yes. He nodded. Another angry wail came from the walls and the hutch against the wall flew forwards and crashed beside them. Son of a bitch. Hunter stared down at the shattered piece. Say something about its mom. I need to see the basement. Rain quickly headed past Hunter, moving to the small door before the entry to the kitchen which led to the basement stairs. Hunter followed as more wild crying came from the house. As he reached the bottom, he found Rain staring into the shadows of the basement recesses. Interesting. Rain said quietly. What? Hunter kept his eyes on the stairwell. 3 spirits with 3 wildly different energies. Rain explained, reaching out his hand to the darkness. You weren't attacking the girls, were you? You wanted them to warn them. Huh? Hunter glanced back. Rain saw the faint outline of a different form at the edge of the dark. It seemed to try to reach back but simply faded away. So much regret and sadness. Rain. Hunter called back, hearing a great deal of commotion from upstairs. Do you have what you need? Yes, let's leave. Rain nodded. My presence here is agitating them greatly. I noticed. Hunter waved for him to move, following up after him. Making a beeline for the front door, they made it out onto the porch and jogged onto the ragged lawn. Are you two okay? Applejack asked as she and the others ran over. Oh, your face. Fluttershy noticed the gash on Rain's cheek. I am fine. Rain assured. I need to sit somewhere calm for a bit, my senses are rattled. Back in the car. Hunter thumbed towards his vehicle, Rain nodded and wearily began heading over. Is he going to be okay? Rarity asked. Yeah, whatever he felt in there just overwhelmed him. Hunter explained. And whatever it was sure as shit didn't like him being there. So, what now? Rainbow Dash looked to the house. You know, Twilight began. As long as it stays in there and we stay out here, everything is fine. I say we go with that plan. You guys can renovate a different house on the other side of town. Hunter laughed. Wish we could, but leaving stuff like this laying around where it could endanger people isn't how my job works, even when I'm not on the clock. He looked back to his car. We need Rain's assessment, can't do any more right now. Let's go then. Pinky began pushing Applejack towards her truck. It's almost dark and this place is bad enough in the daylight. Good point. Sunset concurred. The ride back to Sunset's place gave Rain a chance to regain his composure. She made him some lemon tea, and everyone gathered around to hear what he had to say on the matter. Firstly, there are 3 spirits in that house. Rain began. They are not in concert with one another, that is why they remain on different floors separate to each other. So, what was it that tried to nab me in the basement? Applejack asked. Rain shook his head. The spirit was a man, and he was not attacking you, he sought to deter you from the other 2. Its energy was not necessarily kind, but it was deeply burdened with sadness and regret. He sighed. The one upstairs though, a woman, that is a very dangerous and violent spirit. Its energy seemed, fragmented in many ways, extremely volatile and erratic. What about the 3rd? Fluttershy asked. That one. I'm not entirely sure. Rain admitted. You're not? Hunter asked with a degree of shock. Its energy is confusing, definitely human but also very primal, however not in a malicious way. Almost like an animal that's been trapped in a foreign environment. It is capable of harm, but I don't believe that is its intent, unlike the one upstairs. So, we have 3 ghosts. Rainbow Dash asked redundantly. Awesome. She looked over at Applejack. Your sis sure knows how to pick 'em. The foundation that made the offer to the school gave a choice of 3 different places, just, bad luck is all. Applejack said in defense of her little sister. Rain chuckled. You are surrounded by spirits, far more than any of you realize. Many are simply lost, not fully realizing what they are and completely harmless if not pitiful. Spirits like these, however, I don't know what circumstances brought them to an end, but it must have been something truly violent and tragic. This is where I come in. Hunter stepped in. Now that I have more info, I can do a better job tracking down just what the hell happened in there. Without names or ages. Rarity looked to him unsurely. We've got 3 bodies including 1 male and 1 female, likely a violent crime taking place between 20 to 40 years ago based on the actual age of the house and the estimated time it's been vacant. I've worked with less. Good, Rain nodded. What you find will fill in the missing pieces of the puzzle. I'll take you back to my place for now, we can drink beer and talk about boobies like real men. Hunter lightly slapped Rain's shoulder, the normally stoic man actually laughing. Meet back here tomorrow? Sunset asked. Soon as I find something. Hunter went to her with a kiss. As everyone began leaving, Applejack stepped up to Rain with a light cough. Hey, can I ask you something? Rain turned to her and smiled. Of course. Hunter said he didn't think ghosts were really lost souls, just some kind of echo created from brain electricity or something. He and I have had that talk more than once. Rain confessed. So you believe in the soul? What man calls a soul is a creation of his own mythology. Rain stated. Spirits existed long before religion and philosophy. The spirits that do pass on, what happens to them? She asked further. Is there really a heaven or a hell? Rain saw the desperation for an answer in her eyes. I believe that people believe in heaven and hell. A spirit maintains the emotions that drove it in life. What it experiences is, in a way, a construct of its own imagination. The spirits I've encountered have all been earthbound. Even someone like me cannot say for sure what lies beyond our reality. Oh, Applejack nodded sullenly, looking up sharply as his hand came down on her shoulder. I am sorry about your parents, he offered gently. What, how did? I can sense your grief, it is a fundamental part of your energy. He looked into her eyes compassionately. That loss drives a deal of your action, especially when it comes to your family and friends. Yeah, she nodded. I don't ever take the people in my life for granted. I wish I could answer your question, but I do hope that wherever they may be, they are at peace. Me too. Applejack agreed, wiping a tear from her eye. Thanks. Hunter spent the better part of the night and into the morning using his agency's database and information resources to research the house. Slowly but surely the pieces began to come together, and as he unearthed police reports, medical records, and death certificates, he assembled a rough estimate of what had gone down within those walls. This time, he called the girls to his place, and over the next hour they arrived in groups. Once everyone was present, Hunter laid out the paperwork he had printed out onto the coffee table. Taking a seat beside Sunset on the couch, he sighed as he prepared to go into the unfortunate story. All right, here's the deal. Hunter began. It was a double homicide followed by a suicide. The man's name was Prescott Summers and the woman was his wife Felicity. The third was their 6-week-old son. A baby. Pinkie Pie felt her heart drop. She had a history of depression, long before the incident. My guess is that he figured having a kid might just be the thing to cheer her up and put some happiness back in their marriage. However the decision was made, the baby just made things worse. She was checked back into the hospital not long after the kid was born due to extreme behavior and was recommended for psych evaluation. She was ultimately diagnosed with postpartum psychosis. Isn't that where a mother gets really sad after the baby is born? Fluttershy asked. That's postpartum depression. Hunter clarified. Postpartum psychosis is a whole other ball game. It's rare and can cause extreme mood swings, hallucinations and delusions. He shook his head. Long story short, Prescott didn't heed the warning signs. The only records after that are from police reports. He kept her home instead of getting help, probably stubborn in the idea that motherhood was the answer to her mental problems. He shook his head. All three were dead when the police arrived. From what I can gather of their accounts, she must have had a severe psychotic break and killed her son. They reported that. Hunter paused and lowered his head. Pieces of him were found all around the first floor. Oh my God. Rarity muttered. She was found upstairs, tied up with 5 bullet wounds in her head and 3 more in her chest. He was found in the basement. Rounds in the gun matched those found in his wife. He shot himself through the mouth. That's so horrible. Twilight said shakily. But it does explain much. Rain came in. A 6-week-old child, no wonder I couldn't exactly make out the energy. It also explains the violent outbursts. A baby can only communicate through screams and actions. What we encountered were the throes of a tantrum. As for the mother, dying in such a psychotic state is the reason her energy felt so disjointed. Her spirit is nothing but a whirlwind of psychotic rage. Can't we just knock the house down or something? Rainbow Dash suggested. That doesn't solve the problem, Rain looked to her. Whatever is built atop it will be subject to the wills of those spirits. So what's the plan then? Hunter deferred to Rain. In an odd way, that man's theory may be correct. Rain held his chin. They were a family, no matter how tragic their end may have been. She killed her child in a delusional state, but she was still a mother who on some instinctual level loved her son. Seeing what she had done, walking into that house, he undoubtedly broke and killed her in a rage. But after the fact, he realized it was his choices that led to that end and took his own life in despair. The child doesn't understand what is happening, it is lost and scared with no way to communicate. He folded his hands. If we unite them once more, it may neutralize their energies. Make them a family again, huh? Hunter rocked his head. Well, I doubt anyone has a better plan. One of you will need to draw out Prescott from the basement. Sunset nodded to herself. I know a lot about making bad choices, also about letting go and moving on. I'll do it. Very well, Rain looked to Hunter. Hunter, you're the only one suitable to deal with Felicity. She guards her floor well, but she will leave if given enough incentive. You tend to specialize in making things want to kill you. He noted with smile. If it does kill me, you're going to so much egg on your face. Hunter wagged his finger at Rain with a grin. Anything we can do to help? Applejack asked. Too many energies will muddy things, Rain looked the remaining girls over. Be on standby in case any of us are injured, we don't have the agency's support staff on our side so anything that happens will be on us to deal with. All right then, Hunter clapped his hands together. Let's go do some family therapy. With some final preparation, they once again returned to the house. Hunter, Sunset, and Rain stood before the porch, gazing up at the structure. The girls gathered on the lawn, hearts already beating fast in anxiousness. Hunter, I know I don't have to say this, but please be careful up there. Sunset reached over and took his hand. Hunter smiled and squeezed it. Still makes me feel good to hear it. He noted. Rain made a short laugh. Your energies flow together well, when you are near one another they almost mesh into one. Hear that? We're psychic approved. Hunter smiled over at Sunset. And yet you still go out of your way to make me question it. She smiled back. I'm just testing your love. He countered. Sunset laughed. More like my patience. She took a deep breath. Let's go. Right. Rain moved to the door and pushed it open. Hunter moved in and headed straight up the stairs to the second level and Sunset hurried through the house towards the basement. Rain stepped about the living room, almost immediately a picture frame popped from its spot on the wall and clattered to the old wood floor. A stack of books collapsed as if kicked over and the front door slammed shut. A shrill cry came from all around him, but Rain merely knelt and laid his hand to the floor. I know what you are now, little one. I also know that you cannot understand my words, I only hope you can feel my energy and know that I am here to help. Another ear-ringing cry echoed about him, and stark slamming noises rattled the floor. Sunset jogged down the stairs into the dark, musty basement. She steadied her breathing and turned on her phone's flashlight app. Prescott. She cautiously called. I know your story now, I know what happened in this house and what you felt you had to do. Her peripheral vision caught sight of a plume of dust. She turned to the far corner, keeping her light aimed low at the ground. Can you understand me? She felt a slow, cold flow of air go across her body. From the dark a dim, bluish orb became visible to her. Oh, wow, okay, she took another long breath. Listen, your family needs you. She gestured towards the stairs. Rain said that no matter what happened, you were still a family once and you can be that again, but you can't lock yourself away down here with your own sadness. She laid her hand to her chest. "I been there, I made a lot of bad choices, and when they finally caught up with me, I was trapped in my own feelings of shame and loneliness. But it wasn't the end. I was invited to step back out into the light, and you can too." As she spoke, the bluish glow grew in intensity and size, taking an amorphous shape and moving towards her. "Please, your wife needs you, your son needs you. It may be too late to undo the past, but the three of you can still move on together." She gave the light a genuine smile and slowly reached out her hand. In those same moments, Hunter walked the second floor and headed into the master bedroom where Felicity met her grisly end. He looked over the room for any signs of movement but saw none. "What? Now you want to stop trying to kill people?" he asked cockily. "Felicity, Felicity, 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 Felicity." He again looked around. Thought maybe it was a Candyman kind of deal. He saw the sudden twitch of the bedside table lamp and hopped back as it sped at him and shattered against the wall. "There you are." Hunter grinned. "Starting to think you didn't like me or something." He broadly gestured. "Listen, I know what happened to you, I also know why it happened. We can help you find peace, but you're going to have to come downstairs." Silence followed his offer. "Your son and husband need..." Hunter found himself actually startled as a garbled, inhuman shriek shook the room. The mattress of the bed suddenly stood on end and launched itself at him. He sidestepped and let it hit the wall behind him. Sore subject. "I'm not surprised." The armoire doors flew open, and hangers began flying across the room at Hunter. Crossing his arms across his face, the metal wire hooks cut him. When he lowered his arms, his eyes went wide as a contorted black shape with what appeared to be shining eyes lunged towards him screaming. Hunter dove to the right, narrowly avoiding the shape. The mattress came off the wall and down on top of him. Rolling out of the way, he got to his feet and readied himself. "Not so easy when it isn't a defenseless baby, huh?" Hunter asked, cringing inside at the maliciousness of his own cruel but necessary taunt. "Come on. Or I'm walking out of this house, and you can eat another L on your scorecard." Again, a shriek filled the room, Hunter's ears ringing from the piercing noise. The shape crawled from beneath the box spring and poised itself to strike. Likewise, in those same moments, Rain remained with his hand to the ground, the entire floor rumbling and the wild cries reverberating all about. Rain gritted his teeth as the child's spirit's tantrum-like energy strained his spiritual sensitivity. "Please," he huffed. "My friends are working to bring your mother and father to you. You must..." He stopped, realizing he was speaking sense to baby. "Perhaps this will help." Rain took a deep breath, and under the strain in his mind and chest he began to gently sing Frère Jacques. As he sang the gentle lullaby, the rumbling began to slow, and the cries grew quieter. Before him he could see an amorphous ball of white manifest as if drawn to the soothing tones. "Rain." Hunter's voice called out as he barreled down the stairs, the left side of his face covered in blood and holding his right arm. "Incoming." The black shape slapped against the ceiling above the stairs, leaping halfway down and pursuing Hunter. As Hunter dashed past his fellow agent, Rain lifted his hand and faced the angry spirit. "Felicity. Look," he commanded. The shape stopped and seemed to focus itself on the white light. It screamed again, but this time the tone was more dour than enraged. "This is your son, and he needs his mother," Rain calmly stated. "What you did was monstrous, but that wasn't your true self. Deep down you are still a mother, and it is time to let go of your blind fury and take up the role once more." Rain." Sunset's voice came from near the kitchen. She slowly backed out of the doorway to the basement stairs with a bluish shape following after. "Prescott." Rain glanced over to Sunset's position. "Your son is here and waiting for you. It is time for you all to move on and rest." Sunset stepped aside and the sorrowful spirit drifted closer to Rain and the white light. Rain too backed away as it took his place by the light side. It slowly molded around it and took it into its own form. The black shape wailed at the sight and seemed to back away, but the combined blue and white mass began to reach out to it. Slowly, the warped form approached the other two and added itself to the amalgam. Rain smiled as he observed the scene. Their energies are calming, falling into harmony with one another. That's what we want, right? Sunset asked. Indeed. Rain nodded as the colorful shape began to waft and swirl, slowly fading from their view. Did we do it then? Hunter asked, hobbling over to his side. Yes, Rain again nodded. I don't sense them anymore, they've left this plane. Oh no. Sunset finally noticed Hunter's condition and ran to him. Hunter, how bad are you? I'm okay, Sonny. He promised, giving her a reassuring smile. Got me good above the eye and in the arm, nothing vital. He sighed. Did I mention I hate ghosts? The three of them headed back outside, the girls immediately running over at the sight of them. What the heck went on in there? Rainbow Dash quickly asked. Ain't never heard those kinds of awful noises in my life. Applejack added. Goodness, Hunter. Fluttershy gasped at his bloody face. It looks worse than it is. Hunter assured. Let me clean you up. Fluttershy took off her backpack which they had loaded with first aid. As she, Sunset and Hunter sat on the grass, Rarity looked at the house worriedly. Is it over? She asked. Yes, they have moved on. Rain answered. Moved on. Pinkie Pie repeated in confusion. Where did they go? That I cannot say, Rain shook his head. I do not know what happens to energy when it leaves our world. I can say though that in those final moments before they left, they were at peace. I suppose that's the best ending this awful story can have. Rarity concluded. Well, it's a happy one at least. Pinkie hugged onto her shoulder. They're a family again. Yeah, Applejack nodded solemnly. I'm glad to hear that. Once Hunter was patched up, everyone was finally able to go home with the knowledge that the bizarre ordeal was finally over. The following morning, Hunter prepared to take Rain back to the airport. With a bandage over his brow and a wrapped arm, he slid his jacket on with a groan. Hunter, I can just as easily take a shuttle. Rain said as he watched him. Who the hell knows when we'll see each other again, or if for that matter. Hunter stated plainly. One more car ride won't kill me. He gave Rain a tired smile. Thank you again for coming, you saved our asses for sure. Of course, Rain nodded. It was worth it to set those poor souls free and see just how much your life has improved since we last worked together. Your energy is completely. Of course, Rain nodded. It was worth it to set those poor souls free and see just how much your life has improved since we last worked together. Your energy is completely different now, so much brighter than it was in the past. Well, I don't call her Sunny for nothing. Hunter laughed. Come on, let's beat the morning commute rush. I hate all those 9-to-5 drivers. Hunter escorted Rain back to the airport, seeing him off at security screening before heading back to his car. He phoned Sunset once he was back in Canterlot City, being told that she and the others were already back at the house continuing the work. Hunter detoured and headed over, pulling up to see the girls continuing to pull stuff out to the dumpster. He got out and waved, Rarity waving back and calling for Sunset inside. Hey, easy trip? Sunset asked as she jogged out. Yeah, Hunter nodded, watching Pinkie Pie and Scuttler go by with the mattress that had tried to smother him. Glad to see everyone is cheery. Well, threat's gone. Sunset said simply. The girls are still excited to work on this house, so no sense in stopping. Coming through. Applejack announced as she came out with the box spring. Well, want me to jump in? Hunter smiled. Fair warning, I might have to take my shirt off, which could create a fainting hazard. Ha! Rarity laughed sharply as she passed by with a lampshade. What she said? Sunset added with a giggle. No, you need to take it easy. Although you could run to the store with me for some drinks and snacks. Sure thing. Hunter agreed. Great, I'll find out what everyone wants. Sunset quickly kissed him and headed back in. Hunter turned around and saw Applejack coming back. Speaking of snacks. He smirked. Don't start. Applejack aimed her finger at him. Don't think you being injured means you get a free pass to mouth off. Perish the thought. Hunter tossed his head to the side. Seriously though. Applejack followed him away from the door. What's up? Rain told me what you two talked about. He began. Listen, I wasn't trying to put a damper on anyone's beliefs about the afterlife, so do what you do best and just ignore me. Oh, Applejack smiled and shook her head. It's okay, I know you weren't. She acknowledged. I hoped he might have some answers that the rest of us just couldn't learn. Hunter nodded. Truth is, none of us can know what comes after death until we die, and at that point we're already dead, so it doesn't matter anymore. He shrugged. To be honest, a part of me hopes I'm wrong. It would be nice if the people we loved got some kind of reward for being good and all the assholes out there get what they deserve when they check out. He looked to the sky. Never knew my parents, so I can't relate. But I hope maybe yours are up there, proud as shit of their magical, city-saving little girl. He suddenly dropped his head as he felt Applejack put her arms around him. Thanks. She said softly. Yeah, he set a hand to her back and rubbed it, looking back to the clouds above. Anytime. Hey Hunter, Sunset came out to see Applejack beside him wiping her eyes. What did you do? She asked. Applejack began to laugh. He was being nice. She went to Sunset's side. No faith. Hunter his shook head. Like you blame me. Sunset stuck her tongue out at him. Anything you want from the store, AJ. Just get me a big water and a sandwich from the deli. Applejack noted. No problem, Sunset pocketed the list. Come on, Hunter. Yes, MS. Daisy. He bowed, eating a knuckle to the head as Sunset passed him. As they got into the car and buckled up, Hunter glanced over at her. By the way, Rain knows you're not from this world. He said as he started the engine. What? She quickly looked at him. How? Oh. Yeah. Hunter chuckled. Don't worry, he won't say anything. He and I share a lot of views on things from other worlds. He's a good guy, can't imagine what it must be like to live with abilities like that though. Sunset leaned back into the seat. I'm glad we were able to help those spirits, but doing that all the time. She shook her head. You did really well going up against your first ghost. Hunter complimented. Well, I got the easy one. Sunset reminded. Honestly, when it started responding to me, it was more fascinating than scary. I've always dealt with things that came from Equestria in some way, but since I met you, I've been amazed just how much magic and supernatural wonder this world really has. Hopefully one of these times that wonder will stop trying to kill us. That would be nice. Sunset agreed. I'm not ready to become a ghost anytime soon. She smiled over at him. Not ready for you to be one either. Not getting rid of me that easily. He reached over and took her hand. But if I do, I'll make sure to haunt only you. How noble. Sunset laughed. Especially in the shower. Hunter added. And the girls' locker room. He looked over at her. And just drive. Sunset cut him off. Yes, ma'am. Hunter nodded, returning his eyes to the road.